What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. We got a talking hat again. Oh, fuck. What is this? The worst war crimes your country has committed. Germany, USA, and Japan. Holy shit, what is this?
China.
Oh, no.
Imagine you're a university student in Beijing, and it's the spring of 1989. For weeks now, you and thousands of other students have been gathering peacefully in a public square, demanding democratic reforms. For the past years, students struggled with inflation, housing shortages, and unfair treatment from government corrupt...
It's Jeffrey Epstein, it's Jeffrey Epstein. No, I don't like Jeffrey Epstein.
And elite
He
privilege.
scares me.
The only true beacon of hope for students at the time was Hu Yaobang, a senior party leader in China who actually supported free speech and political reform. However, unfortunately, Hu's progressiveness was seen as leniency and political weakness, which led to him getting removed by
China's number 2 man forced out over student protest premier to take reins of party. Hu Yaobang.
Why they gotta put it in stupid containers?
Hu Yaobang, China's second most powerful leader, was forced out today as head of nation's 44 million member communist party after weeks of turmoil and intellectual challenges to the socialist system. Leader of the party in China is outed for his mistakes. Premier gets post. The New York Times. He forced to quit after weeks of turmoil and student protests.
the very people he helped serve. With this deep betrayal, humiliation, and isolation, Hu would later on pass away from a heart attack while literally in the midst of a political party meeting. And so, that's why you're here. Ever since April 15th, the same day that Hu passed, you and millions of other people have been mourning his departure while demanding reform. You're not violent, you're not armed, you're just a bunch of young people.
Hey, fuck!
History can be better. But on the night of June 3rd, everything changes. As you casually get ready for another round of peaceful protesting in the square,
And no internet.
As you casually get ready for another round of peaceful protesting in the square,
Fuck, I gotta restart the fucking video.
you see tanks rolling in. Let me repeat that. After a casual protest, you literally see hundreds of tanks and tens of thousands of soldiers appear out of nowhere. At first, you think that you're hallucinating. Then you think they're probably just trying to intimidate you without actually hurting anybody. But that idea quickly dissipates as you witness those same tanks rev up their engines and run over protesters. Armored vehicles begin crushing people while soldiers unleash from the crowd.
Fire.
This atrocity is known as the Tiananmen Square Massacre. You try to run, but there's chaos everywhere. Bodies drop on the ground left and right. Students struggle to free their friends, crushed underneath tank tracks, and, what's that? None of this ever happened? I'm just a crazy person. Everybody survived and lived happily ever after.
Tiananmen Square protest death toll was 10,000. In the 36 years since the crackdown, all discussion from the incident has been heavily censored in China, as authorities have effectively attempted to erase it from history. Public commemoration, I don't know, or mere mention, online or off, of the Tiananmen crackdown is banned. Should I talk about this on YouTube? I might get banned, but I don't care. I still got 2 channels to work.
United States. It's 2003 and you were detained in Iraq during the US occupation. Honestly,
Did he just say United States have war crimes? Wait a minute. I'm gonna fucking beat some heads in with this, thing. With this weight.
happily ever after. United States. It's 2003 and you were detained in Iraq during the US occupation. Honestly, you don't really even know what you've been accused of. Maybe you were in the wrong place at the wrong time. Maybe someone gave the Americans your name. Or maybe you're a straight-up war criminal. Nonetheless, it doesn't matter now. The American soldiers strip you, but upon arrival...
Strip you naked!
Cell. Sounds comfy, right?
Nah, you're digging off.
Because the humiliation starts immediately. The soldiers force you and other prisoners to do things that I can't mention on YouTube to each other, while they watch, laugh, and take pictures. If you refuse, then they'll do even worse things to you. For example, some nights they'll tie a rope around your, area and
not my dick! I don't want a rope around my dick.
Drag you across the concrete floor. The pain is excruciating, but your screams only encourage the concrete floor. The pain is excruciating, but your screams only encourage them. Other nights, they bring dogs into your cell and lock you there inside with them, while they tear you to shreds. As for sleep, well, it becomes impossible, because every time you start to drift off, soldiers bang on your cell door, or blast music at deafening volumes, blurring your days together in exhausted delirium. Then they'll force you into stress positions for hours, making you extend your arms, balance on one leg, or just hold a generally uncomfortable pose until your muscles eventually give out. As you can probably guess, when you collapse, they punish you and make you start again. Some individuals were forced to wear hoods and stand on boxes with wires attached to their fingers. Soldiers told them, if you step off the box, you'll be electrocuted. The wires actually weren't capable of doing that, but the prisoners had no idea of knowing that, and they'd be forced to stay on the box for nearly an entire night. This atrocity is the
Abu Ghraib.
It was to disguise
Torture.
as intelligence gathering, and in 2004, photographs of the cruelty
I won't be
leaked to
showing
the public.
those photos. Torture at Abu Ghraib. A secret army report reveals foul leadership failures, intelligent demands, and private contractors turn a rebuilt prison into a machine. I can't say that word because, yeah.
And shocked the world, leading several soldiers to being court-martialed. Nonetheless, many victims never received justice for what was done to them. Belgium. You and your partner run from the horde of cannibalistic soldiers chasing you. You're fortunate enough to find a building to lock yourselves into, so you quickly slam the door shut and board it up with your partner, temporarily fend off a violent militia of heavily armed youths as they bang on it to try to break it down. For some context on the situation, you two are both United Nations employees who were placed on patrol in the Ituri region of the Democratic Republic of Congo. You're unarmed, isolated, and surrounded by a cannibalistic militia. Your only chance of survival is your radio, which you desperately scream into. You and your partners tell the United Nations that they need to come quickly to pick you up because you're both in grave danger.
The United Nations mission in Congo had already warned their headquarters. They called again, saying, "Get us out of here. We are gonna get killed."
Lucky enough for you, the base is only a couple of miles away. It's so close by that you could probably just drive to it, but driving your car through an armed militia is just way too dangerous. So you need a helicopter to pick you up, but once again, it's close by, so at least they'll be swift with the pickup, right? You wait 6 whole days. Despite the base just being a 30-minute...
They were receiving death threats. They said they were alone and unarmed in Mongbualu, a former gold mining town ruled by the cannibalistic Lendu tribal militias. A UN helicopter from the town of Bunia could have retrieved them in 35 minutes. Major Safwat Al-Oran, 37, from Jordan, and Captain Sidon Davis Banda, 29, from Malawi, waited patiently for 6 days. They strained their hearing and searched the skies for a UN helicopter. It was only a 35-minute ride from its heavily guarded base. They locked themselves in their little compound.
Drive away, When the helicopter finally arrives, it's way too late. Your bodies are found in a bush, both missing their brains, hearts, livers, and even... They were all carved out of your bodies and eaten. And this is just one horror story from the...
Oh. Hold on. UN ignored peacekeepers' rescue pleas. For 6 days, 2 terrified United Nations military observers called their superiors as many as 4 times a day, begging to be evacuated from their remote outposts in northeastern Congo. They were receiving death threats, and they said they were alone and unarmed in Mongwalu, a former gold mining town ruled by the cannibalistic Lendu tribal militias. A UN helicopter from the town of Bunia could have retrieved them in 35 minutes, but the United Nations, handcuffed by its own rules and bureaucracy, never sent a chopper. On May 18th, 10 days after the 2 peacekeepers made their first distress call, the UN flew armed peacekeepers to Mongwalu. Chaos and cannibalism under Congo's bloody skies. In this harrowing special report from the Democratic Republic of Congo, filmmaker Sam Kiley accused of Britain turning its back on a human tragedy that has already claimed more lives than any conflict since the Second World War.
Ituri conflict. Militias engaged in ritualistic cannibalism. Villagers were massacred, children were kidnapped and forced to end their neighbors' lives and become soldiers. They were conflict. Militias engaged in ritualistic cannibalism. Villagers were massacred, children were kidnapped, and forced to end their neighbors' lives and become soldiers. Now, you're probably wondering why this is listed under Belgium instead of the Congo. The reason's brief, although devastating.
Ituri conflict, Democratic Republic of the Congo.
The Ituri conflict was just one small war within a much larger...
Initial conflict, 1995 to 2007. Estimates from Médecins Sans Frontières, MSF, Wikipedia page suggested more than 50,000 deaths, while others reports, including from the BBC in 2006, indicated up to 60,000 deaths.
...to catastrophe. It was part of the
Second Congo War. The Second Congo War, also known as Africa's World War, or the Great War of Africa, was a major conflict that began on 2nd of August, 1998, in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, just over a year after the First Congo War. Alright.
War, which I don't know if you know this, but yeah, Africa had its own...
The Second Congo War, 1998 to 2003, known as the Africa's World War, or the Great War of Africa, was a massive conflict in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, involving 9 nations and numerous armed groups. It was the deadliest conflict in modern African history, causing an estimate 3.8 to 6 million deaths due to violence, disease, and starvation.
World War. It lasted 5 years, and an estimated 5.4 million people passed away from it, making it the most horrible conflict since World War II. And Belgium created the conditions for this bloodbath. When King Leopold II colonized the Congo in the 1880s, he turned the entire country into his personal rubber farm. Congolese people were forced to harvest rubber under threat of harm. If they didn't meet quotas, soldiers would cut off their hands, feet, or end their families. From King Leopold's atrocities alone, between 8 and 10
million over to 15 million, with a widely cited figure of 10 million deaths.
Lives in the Congo were robbed. After the country finally achieved independence, Belgium still went out of its way to sabotage the Congo by assassinating its leader.
No! Patrice Lumumba's assassination. Shortly after independence, the DRC's first prime minister, Patrice Lumumba, was assassinated in 1961 with the involvement of Belgian and U.S. Secret Services. A Belgian parliamentary commission in 2002 confirmed Belgium's partial responsibility for his death. for which the government formally apologized.
and melting his body in a vat of acid.
Body disposal. Following his execution on January 17, 1961, Lumumba's body was dismembered and dissolved in acid by Belgian officers.
Because he spoke against Belgium's corruption. A Belgian officer even took the Prime Minister's tooth.
A Belgian officer who was involved later confirmed he removed Lumumba's tooth and kept it as his trophy. The main thing that he was assassinated to erase him politically, to erase his memory.
Another alligator? Wow.
As a trophy for the successful sabotage. Years of this
Gerald Sweet.
non-stop disruption created the unstable Congo that we all know today. Japan. You're a Chinese civilian occupied in Manchuria, enjoying a late-night breeze beside your home. And then randomly, Japanese soldiers arrive at your village without warning, accuse you of theft, and then throw you into a truck with dozens of others, Chinese civilians. You're confused about your crime. You've been at your house for the entire day. You're sure it's just a minor mix-up that'll be cleared once you get to the police station. But you don't ever arrive to the police station. Instead, you're transported to a remote facility hours away. When you arrive at the compound, you're no longer given a name. You're rather assigned a number, and the soldiers begin calling you a log, as if you're not human at all. You're stripped, examined, and locked in a small cell. The building is cold, sterile, and clinical. You see doctors in white coats walk past your cell, discussing something. You can't understand what they're saying, because it's in Japanese, but you can't help to feel uneasy as it's obvious that they're talking about you. They bring you out of your cell and into a different room. One of the doctors sits you onto a chair and caresses your face, while saying something in Japanese. Then, out of nowhere, he begins injecting something into your body while prison guards hold you tight. You feel violated at first, but when you see what's happening to the other prisoners, you quickly realize that you got it easy. Through the windows of other rooms, you see prisoners scream as they're opened and harvested for them without anesthesia. More prisoners on the other side are frozen to the point of frostbite. Then doctors and guards smash their limbs to pieces with sticks and batons. You get a quick peek at the window outside, where you see a group of prisoners all tied to a pole, while trying desperately to break free, as doctors and soldiers throw them. And as if that's not already...
Japan, dude! I swear, Japan is the worst country to be in. Japan is the worst! Fucking war!
terrible enough, there are things that you witness that are just simply too horrible to even mention on YouTube. You finally arrive back at your cell. Doctors with clipboards watch you, and when you sit down, you start feeling sick. That's when you realize that they've just injected you with a number of diseases. The bubonic plague, cholera, typhoid, and so on. You instantly develop a fever, then chills, then you begin vomiting. As days pass, you become unbelievably thirsty, but you're too tired to even stand. Your body is riddled from head to toe in thick, swollen lumps, and fluids begin leaking out of your body's orifices. They watch you deteriorate through the cell window, taking notes on clipboards without giving you any treatment. You're just observed, recorded, and studied like a lab rat, until they bring another prisoner into your room and force them to do something horrible to your deteriorating body. At the end of it, you're no longer alive, and the new prisoner is now infected with what you had, and the cycle repeats. This was Unit 731, and between 1936 and 1945, an estimated thousands to hundreds of thousands of people. 1936 and 1945, an estimated thousands to hundreds of thousands of people passed away from their experiments and biological warfare. But at least the doctors that conducted these atrocities were arrested and sent to jail, right? Yeah, no.
Immunity for atrocity. The U.S. cover-up of Unit 731, the corruption of post-war bioethics.
The war? Many of the doctors who conducted these experiments were granted immunity by the U.S.
Immunity deal. The U.S. granted immunity to Unit 731. Leaders in 1946 to 1948 to obtain valuable research data, which American officials noted could not be obtained domestically due to ethical restrictions on human experimentation.
In exchange for their research data, and none were ever prosecuted for their crimes. At the very least, these doctors must have found some very valuable information if the US allowed them all to walk free in exchange for it, right? Yeah, valuable information if the US allowed them all to walk free in exchange for it, right? Yeah, no again. It turns out most of the data was really basic, redundant, or just purely unusual because the experiments were poorly done. Essentially, it was just a bunch of psychopaths doing psychotic things and pretending that they were doing it in the name of research. Germany. You probably already know about this event, and I don't really think YouTube will let me talk about it that much. So here are some fun facts about, paparazzi Germany. During World War II, Coca-Cola couldn't get syrup into Germany because of political complications. They were only able to use whatever available ingredients they had in the country. They tried their best to recreate Coke, but it came out orange and sweeter, and that's how Fanta was born.
Me offering Julius Caesar a glass of orange Fanta because I didn't know what else to do with the time machine. Meh!
Also, the paparazzi banned jazz music. They called it degenerate because of the cultures that... loved and mainly consumed it, but many high-ranking German leaders secretly loved jazz and would listen to it in private as a guilty pleasure, even as they publicly condemned it. Also, apparently, Germans back then were...
Oh my god.
What's up, guys? Today I'm
very obsessed with finding the mythical lost city of Atlantis. They sent expeditions around the world searching for it, believing it would prove their stupid extremist theories. And lastly, the angry mustache guy was born on 420. So...
Adolf Hitler.
yeah, pretty weird.
Ant walkers. Shit.
The day starts like any other. You're going about your day arguing with your brother about how any JoJo character absolutely wipes the floor with Gojo, when suddenly loud ear-piercing sirens blare across the city. You and your brother quickly get ready to evacuate the area, but then the sirens quickly stop. You look up and see only one American B-29 bomber in the sky. You thought it was an air raid of hundreds of planes, but nope, it's a false alarm, probably just a reconnaissance flight for a solo pilot, which honestly, it's no big deal to you. So you and your brother carry on with the argument. Just a few seconds after that, the sky explodes and you go blind. A light brighter than 1,000 suns erupts above the city, and in that instant, the temperature at ground zero reaches 7,000 degrees Fahrenheit. People directly beneath the blast are vaporized instantly. Their bodies turn to ash and burned into shadows on walls and sidewalks. But you're lucky. You're far enough away that you survive the initial blast, but unfortunately, at the same time, you're close enough to witness the horrors that come next. The shockwave flattens everything. Every building around you collapses. Fires ignite across the city, and also its people. As your sight slowly returns to you, you see men and women on fire, so desperate to get away from the heat that they jump into rivers and lakes to seek relief. But sadly, the heat is so intense that those same
Thousands of bloated carcasses drift on the water surface.
bodies of water begin to boil to extreme temperatures, immediately cooking alive anybody who jumps into it. You stumble through the ruins, trying to find your brother, trying to find help, trying to find anyone. And then, that's when you see them. The ant walkers. These were people who were so badly burned that their skin had melted off their bodies, hanging in strips from their arms and legs.
The city was a sea of flame. The people fleeing out of it was burned too badly to be recognized even as men or women.
They had no eyes and similar resemblance to a walking skeleton. Hordes of them walk slowly in single file lines with their arms held out in front of them to keep their raw, exposed flesh from touching anything. They try to cry and scream, but the only noise they emit is something akin to a loud, wispy locust hum. They continue following each other in a single line.
The bombing turned money into ant
Moving
walkers.
toward nothing, going nowhere, with most of them not even knowing where they are anymore. The only thing that snaps your mind away from this horrific scene is the sound of tap dancing. You quickly look to the left, only to see a skinless man missing his feet running toward you. He's walking on his
Early on, witnesses saw what Pillingengo calls a tap dance on Dente's head. A man ran past them, flapping his arms, making no noise but the clicking on the road of his two tibia, chipping and fracturing with every step against the pavement.
exposed tibia bones because all the flesh has been burned away from his feet. Each step makes a horrible tapping sound against the pavement, fracturing his bones and grinding them against the ground. He doesn't scream. He doesn't interact with you. He simply runs past you. With the amount of focus he runs past you with, you quickly realize that he's searching for someone, perhaps a loved one. And as suddenly as he appeared, he disappears into the fiery smoke. Then, you wake up. You're 86 years old now, but the tragic atrocities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki that robbed you of your brother and over 200,000 civilians of their lives will never leave your mind. It can't. It may serve as an edgy internet joke for online trolls nowadays, but that was your life. It was your reality, and even decades later, it is a hell you can never escape. At the time, the nukes weren't considered a war crime. The US argued it was necessary to end the war, but by today's standards, the deliberate targeting of civilian populations with weapons of such indiscriminate destruction would definitely be classified as a war crime. War, corruption, and cruelty are all terrible things. They're committed by every country and by ordinary people who convince themselves that cruelty is justified or that the enemy deserves it, that their cause makes it acceptable. But the enemy isn't an animal, nor is the enemy an alien. The enemy is still human. A human that still feels things, thinks to themselves, and has memories. No human deserves any of this. Treat others how you wish to be treated, and don't just follow what others do. Be the example. Have a happy day.
Moment of silence. Thank you guys so much for watching. I don't think I will ever have a happy day because of what's happened here.